In Stark Expo 1943, Howard Stark, an owner and CEO of Stark Industries, sponsored an exhibition of future technologies, the World Exposition of Tomorrow, that replaced the cancelled World's Fair in 1943. Steve Rogers, Bucky Barnes, and their respective dates, Bonnie and Connie, attended the exposition. The Expo presented such inventions as Phineas Horton's synthetic man and a prototype of the flying car by Stark Industries. Stark himself hosted the presentation of the flying car, an audience success despite the failure of the prototype. Rogers attempted to enlist again during the presentation, leaving Barnes and the girls behind. But Barnes tried to persuade Rogers not to expose himself to such a risk. Rogers' strong moral convictions were the reason behind all this enlists. Perceiving he had no right to stay behind when men were risking their lives in the war. And Barnes, concerned about the well-being of his friend, asked him not to do anything stupid until his return. In 1974, Howard Stark presented the City of the Future at Stark Expo, but was limited with the technology of his time, so he couldn't complete it. Knowing this, Howard left the blueprints of a new element he developed hidden in the model of the City of the Future, and made a recording for his son, Tony Stark, with clues, so he could find the blueprints and complete his work. His plan worked, and Tony brought it back to work and pulled the world together with technology for the future. Tony Stark flew over New York City, only to land in the scenario of Stark Expo and its host opening ceremony for the cheering crowd. Stark praised his own achievements as Iron Man, bringing the longest uninterrupted period of world peace. He talked about the purpose of the Stark Expo, the importance of their legacy, as organizations from all over the world would join efforts for the sake of a better future. While displaying his farthest opening, the Stark Expo, made in 1974, Stark went backstage to check his blood toxicity, having discovered that the palladium core of the arc reactor in his chest was slowly killing him. Justin Hammer hosts his own weapons demonstration at the Stark Expo, with the name In Defense of Peace, an event attended by the military, civilian authorities, including Pepper Potts as the new CEO of Stark Industries. He seized the opportunity to criticize Iron Man for not sharing his technology with the rest of the world, and in order to avoid the loss of human lives in the battlefield, he presented his new line of hammer drones, each one representing a branch of the United States Armed Forces, Army, Navy, Air Force, and Marine Corps, adding that, despite this advancement, human presence would be necessary. He presented the War Machine armor and his pilot, Lieutenant Colonel Jones. Tony Stark arrived at the Expo amongst 1,000 applauses to the attending crowd, intending to evacuate civilians in response to Vaco's threats, and to question Hammer about his collaboration with Vanco. Before he could obtain any response, Vanco remotely controlled War Machine armor and the Hammer drones to attack Stark. Pepper Potts accessed the backstage to check the situation, overhearing that someone was controlling the drones from another location, hampering the technicians from gaining control of the situation. Potts' assistant, Natalie Rushman, aka Black Widow, the undercover identity of S.H.I.E.L.D. agent Natasha Romanoff, coerced Hammer into confessing the identity of their possible even Vanco in his location, departing to Hammer Industries headquarters while Potts called the police. Iron Man and War Machine battled the armies, including one he saved Peter Parker from. They fought until Stark unleashed a laser weapon that tore the drones in half. Romanoff warned them another signal was approaching, and both Stark and Rhodes witnessed the arrival of Whiplash. Vanco's new armor resisted all the attacks launched at him, and he gained the upper hand, managed to constrain Stark and Rhodes with the whips of the armor. Seeing no other way, Stark and Rhodes mutually attacked them other with their repulsors, causing an explosion right at the spot where Vanko was standing, blowing him up and pushing both Iron Man and War Machine backwards. When they got up, they went over to Vanko. And at this point in time, he activated the self-destruct sequence in all of the hammer drones. That would cause a series of explosions in the complex that almost killed Pepper Potts, rescued by Stark in the nick of time, and also rescued a young Peter Parker. Well, that's it for this video. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and in a few days you will see the life of Howard Stark and maybe a future life of Tony Stark. That's it for this video. See you next time.